All right, guys, we got to talk about this guy. So his name is Paul Gracia, and the name may sound vaguely familiar to you. If it does, it's because this guy, we talked about him previously on the show. The reason you may have heard of him is because he was prominently featured in one of the articles exposing the young Republicans and their group chats and just how overtly Nazi-ish they are, right?
What is up, my political junkies and truth seekers? We're diving headfirst into a story today that is so wild, so infuriating, and frankly, so predictable for anyone paying attention to the dumpster fire that is Trump-era politics. You might need a strong cup of coffee, or maybe something a little stronger. We're talking about a self-described Nazi, Paul Gracia, who somehow keeps scaling up in the Trump administration. Yes, you heard that right. A Nazi in the White House ecosystem. If your jaw isn't hidden on the floor, it should be. We're going to break down just how this baffling, frankly terrifying reality came to be and what it tells us about the state of our government. Buckle up, because this is going to be a bumpy ride, and we're stopping to call out the BS every step of the way. Let's get at it.
In fact, he quite literally directly said, I have a bit of a Nazi streak in me, is what he said. He, again, in a private text message to many people, this is what he said, okay? There were other ones and other people saying stuff about gas chambers, and you know what they do. It's basically, it's called the based ritual. Richard Hanania coined this, former far-right guy. And he says, it's like a race to the bottom. Who can be the most edgy? Who can be the most offensive? And if you can out-baste the next guy, then you're viewed as like, oh, you're cool, bro. You're on the in-group. And so another word to describe this, or term to describe this, is vice signaling. In the same way that they accuse liberals and leftists of virtue signaling, they vice signal. I can be a worse person than you. I can be more contrarian than you. I can be more offensive than you. And that's what they do, right?
Okay, let's just pause right there. Vice signaling. It's the perfect term, isn't it? It's like the dark mirror image of virtual signaling, only instead of trying to show how good you are, you're trying to prove how bad you can be. How edgy. How willing you are to cross every line, every moral boundary, just to own the libs or prove your loyalty to a particular, shall we say, unorthodox ideology. And this isn't just some fringe internet phenom anymore, folks. This is the playbook. This is how you climb the ladder in certain circles. It's not about competence or policy. It's actually about human decency. Oh, no. It's about who can be the most outrageously offensive, who can parrot the most extreme talking points, who can demonstrate the most profound contempt for establishing norms. Because in this twisted ecosystem, that's what gets you noticed. That's what gets you in the group, in the in crowd. It's a race to the bottom, and the prize is, well, apparently a job in the government, even if you're a self-professed Nazi. Think about that for a second. We've gone from expecting public servants to, serve the public, to integrity, with integrity and medium, a little bit of respect, to a system where openly embraces ideologies in somehow a qualification. It's not just alarming, it's a symptom of a deeper root. When the most extreme voices are not only tolerated but rewarded, what message does that send? It tells anyone with a shred of decency to stay away, while inviting the absolute worst element to step forward. That's how you end up with a government packed, not with experts, but with people whose main skill is being provocatively terrible. It's a clown show, but the stakes are terribly real.
And so this guy was very prominently featured. He was picked for some high-level position, but he needed approval through Congress. And thankfully, when his pro-Nazi text messages came out, he actually did say, I'm going to step aside, which, by the way, at this late date, anything's possible. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed in there and Trump turned the screws and said, no, Republicans, you will back this guy. But thankfully he didn't. He stepped aside. But you would think, in a world that made sense, if there's a scandal where you out yourself as a Nazi, you would think, oh, okay, so he's like done with politics now, right? Well, the answer is no. In fact, if you read this article from Politico, what you find out very quickly is he's been shuffled around from administration position to administration position. He's been with different agencies at different times. I believe he was with the DOJ, and then they moved him to like Homeland Security or something like that. And now, why? Why is he still in the government after being outed as a fucking Nazi? Well, very simply, he rides Trump's meat raw. This guy, I believe he emerged back during the primary when DeSantis was making a run at it and it looked like he was a formidable candidate. This guy came out there, he wrote a bunch of like blog pieces about how Trump's the greatest, Trump's the best. And this is how the Trump ecosystem works, just so all of you understand, is that somehow came across Trump's radar, right? Probably one of his staffers printing it out and showing him the shit. You know how it works. He literally name searches himself and prints everything out, and then he goes through all the stuff that mentions his name, right? So it got in front of Trump. Trump started like writing letters back to this guy, going, amazing piece. I loved your piece. You're a real smart guy. You're a real handsome guy. You're really amazing. So it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine. He plays the role of little fucking cuckboy to the candidate at the time, the former president, Trump, and Trump recognizes it. So as soon as Trump gets back in power, what's the plan? What's the strategy? Surround myself and pack these agencies with every single sycophant you can find, every single yes man, every person who never questions anything I ever say. And so all those people start getting top level positions in the government. And so now there's nobody with independent thought. There's nobody to reel him in. It's all like the most groveling, pathetic little weasels in the world who their whole personality is defending Trump and Trumpism, right? So he's put in one agency, and then according to the people, they're like, look, man, he's sort of not working out, and he doesn't know how to get along, and he's a little bit awkward. And by the way, what else happens? So he gets shuffled to another agency. Boom. Sexual harassment charges. One of the female workers comes out and says he wanted to like stay alone in a room with me, and it was very creepy, and so they had to shuffle him again. Now he's part of GSA, General Services Administration. Okay, at GSA, he's doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He has no idea what he's doing. And so the people who actually run GSA, they're doing with him like Stephen Miller is doing with Trump. Like, here, work on the armrests at the Trump Kennedy Center. Marble armrests. Here, redo the Lincoln bathroom. What an amazing bathroom. Here, knock down the east wing of the White House and build the Epstein Memorial Ballroom. That'll be fun, right? Interior decorating is fun. So Stephen Miller and Marco Rubio and Russ Vought, they tell Trump, like, here, go play with fucking, with Legos and crayons, right? We're going to be over here actually running the country and ruining everything. And that's exactly what's going on with this guy, too, at the General Services Administration. So understand what happened. He sucked off Trump by writing articles. Then he was hired for a very top-level administration position. He needed congressional approval, so he didn't get it. But instead of his I'm a Nazi post excising him from politics, it made it so he was at like Department of Homeland Security. Then he got shuffled to fucking like, DOJ or vice versa. Then he gets, after the Nazi scandal comes out, he gets fucking promoted to GSA where he has even more power. And so this is how Trump's Washington functions. Suck him off with articles. Fucking fail your way up to the top, be involved in a Nazi scandal, get promoted after the Nazi scandal. And this is where we are.
Let that sink in. Be involved in a Nazi scandal, get promoted after the Nazi scandal. This isn't satire, folks. This isn't some dark comedy sketch. This is the actual documented trajectory of a real person in the highest levels of our government. It's the fail-up phenomenon on steroids, powered by a complete disregard for qualifications, ethics, or even basic public relations. Imagine, just for a second, try to explain this to someone from another country, or even someone from 20 years ago. Oh yeah, this guy was outed as a Nazi, so naturally, he got promoted. They think you were insane, because in any sane, functional society, admitting you have a bit of a Nazi streak would be the end of your political career, not a stepping stone. It would be an immediate, undeniable disqualifier. But we're not in a sane society, are we? We're in a political landscape where loyalty to one man trumps literally everything else. Competence? Irrelevant. Experience? A liability if it means you might disagree. Moral character, apparently a negative. The only currency that matters in this unyielding, unquestionable devotion, no matter how extreme or repugnant your personal views might be. This isn't just about Paul Gracia. It's about the entire apparatus that allows him to not only survive, but thrive. It's about a system that actively rewards this extremism while pushing out anyone with an independent thought or a moral compass. When you have a government run by people whose only qualification is kissing the ring, whose only skill is being a yes man, then you get exactly what you're seeing: administrative chaos, policy failures, and a steady erosion of public trust. It's a receipt for disaster, and we're all living through it, real time.
And so the next time people wonder, like I just saw an article, I forget which outlet wrote it, but they're like, man, there's all sorts of administrative problems now with Social Security, where like they're super backlogged. People have problems that aren't being addressed. We never had a problem with Social Security until Trump. Why? Because these are the fucking idiots who are running the country. People whose only job is kissing Trump's ass. That's all they know is, hey, I know how to be your fluffer. I know how to coddle your nuts. So you will climb that ladder super high. And this is a hallmark of authoritarian countries, by the way, is you replace experience and competence. You replace that with how much of a loyalist sycophant are you? And like, so all the people with actual expertise and knowledge and know-how and institutional ability, that is all replaced with the dumbest fucking people on the planet whose qualifications are that they joined a cult and they're very loud, aggressive members of the cult. That's what this is. And so have a Nazi scandal and fail up. Have a Nazi scandal and fail up. That's what's happening here. And so, I don't want to hear it anymore. Anybody who tries to give you both parties are exactly the same, just immediately never trust a word they say about anything ever again, ever.
Preach! Seriously, if you are still out there in the year of our Lord 2024, regurgitating that both parties are the same line, you are either willfully ignorant or you're pushing an agenda that actively harms our democracy. I mean, come on. We are literally talking about a self-described Nazi being shuffled through government positions under one administration. Do you honestly think that would happen under a Democratic president? Would Kamala Harris be like, oh, a Nazi? Interesting. Let's see if you can find a place for him in the GSA. The very idea is ludicrous. It's not just about the extreme cases like Paul Gracia, though that alone should be enough to shatter the illusion. It's about fundamental differences in policy, priorities, and basic human values. One party is actively trying to dismantle social safety nets, gut environmental protections, and restrict voting rights, all while promoting people who openly flirt with fascism. Fascism! I can't believe this. The other, for all its flaws, and believe me, they have flaws, is generally trying to expand healthcare, address climate change, and protect civil liberties. To pretend these are equivalent is not just naive, it's dangerous. It minimizes the very real threat posed by a political movement that embraces authoritarianism and bigotry. It gives a pass to behavior that should be universally condemned. It's like saying a broken leg and a paper cut are both injuries. Technically true, but one is going to require a hell of a lot more intervention and causes a lot more long-term damage. So yeah, if someone tries to hit you with the both sides argument, just walk away. Or better yet, hit them with the facts. Because the stakes are too high to pretend that a party that promotes Nazis is somehow just like the party that tries to expand healthcare or Medicaid or something that actually benefits people. That argument died a long time ago, painful death years ago, and it's time we all acknowledge it.
Because if at this late date, you're still regurgitating that, there was a time where that intuitively seemed like it was more reasonable, right? In the year of our Lord 2026, not a chance, bro. Not a chance. These are not the same. You wouldn't have somebody outed as a Nazi, self-describing as a fucking Nazi, who Kamala Harris goes, can we promote them? That wouldn't happen. Just like Democrats wouldn't have kicked 18 million people off Medicaid. In fact, quite the opposite. Under Obamacare, they expanded Medicaid. Just like under the Democrats, you wouldn't have healthcare premiums skyrocket, double, triple, quadruple, and more than that for all the country. That's exactly what's happening under Trump, because he said no more Affordable Care Act subsidies. You wouldn't have had 94 million pounds of food aid get frozen like Trump did during the holidays, so people were starving during the holidays. None of that would have happened. Just like they wouldn't have bombed fucking fishermen. They wouldn't have bombed fishermen off the coast of Venezuela. It wouldn't have happened. The fucking bombing streak in Iran, which, by the way, they're not done with that also wouldn't have fucking happened. It wouldn't have happened. So I don't want to hear it. Nazis are failing up. This guy with his little fucking weasel face and his beady eyes. And, like, this is the future of politics in this country. People who don't know their ass from their elbow, and their only qualification is they suck Trump off and they self-described as a Nazi. And, like, this is a 4chan-occupied government. Do you understand that? This is a Groyper-occupied government. That's what this is. That's what this is. And so it's no wonder that Trump's approval rating is 36%. It's no wonder it's on the way down. It's no wonder the economy's falling apart. It's no wonder that, it hasn't even been a year and people are losing their goddamn minds, because what did you expect to happen? What did you expect to happen? When you get, like, the least competent, the least intelligent people in the country, who the only thing about them is they love Trump and they're ideologically racist and Nazi as fuck. This is the end result. So I hope it's a little bit of a wake-up call to everybody. But the fact that now Politico is writing articles about prominent self-described Nazis who failed up, that should be a little bit of a wake-up call, shouldn't it? That, like, I don't know, we need a pretty severe course correction. I hope it does serve as that wake-up call. All right, guys. That's the show, y'all. I hope everybody's having an awesome New Year's thus far. Hope you're recovering if you happen to go out and do some drinking. I'm a little too old for that. I'm not a big alcohol guy in the first place, but I love y'all. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. You could also support the show on Patreon and tip with that thanks button on YouTube. You could also go sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. And, of course, go sub to Corn's World so you can see the live Kyle and Corn episodes. All right. I love you guys, man. I'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a great one.
There you have it, folks. A deep dive into the disturbing reality of how extremism and incompetence can not only survive, but thrive in certain political environments. This isn't just a story about one bad apple. It's a glaring symptom of a much larger, much systematic issue within our government. We need to be vigilant. We need to be informed. And most importantly, we need to demand better from our leaders. If this analysis resonates with you, if it got your blood boiling, or if it just made you realize how truly messed up things are, then please do me a solid. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the political absurdities of our time. Your engagement helps us cut through the noise and get these critical conversations out to more people. And as always, keep fighting the good fight, stay informed, and never, ever stop questioning authority. We'll see you next time.